Hi, we're in the book of Revelations of St. John the Divine, chapter 9, verses 1 through 21. Verse 1 reads, And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when it striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses, prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold. And their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hairs. I'll read that again. It's chapter 9, verse 8, the book of Revelation. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. In their power was to hurt men 5 months, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, Loose the 4 angels, which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, in a day, in a month, in a year, for to slay the third part of men. In the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. And by these three was the third part of men killed, by fire, and by smoke, and by the brimstone, which issue out of their mouths. In verse 19, for their power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And they, verse 20 says, chapter 9, the book of Revelation, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Verse 21, the last verse in chapter 9 of the book of Revelation. Neither repented they of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. So this is chapter 9, verses 1 through 21. And we're going to address verse 9 for sure, but we're going to address verse 1 in the chapter 9 first. And it says this, and I'm going to read it somewhat again, verse 1 of chapter 9. And the fifth angel sounded, so it let it off, trumpet. And I heard John talking, and he said, and I saw a star fall from heaven, another meteor falling from heaven, unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. The key. Giving access, the means of getting into the bottomless pit. Verse 2 of chapter 9. And he opened the bottomless pit. So there you go. He opened the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit is very deep, like dungeon-like pit. That's what the Greek call it, bottomless, very deep. And there arose a smoke out of the pit. There you go. As the smoke of a great furnace. You can imagine the smoke coming out of that pit. In those ancient days, they didn't have furnace like we have today, but they did have them. And a lot of smoke came out of them. But this is greater than all the smokes that any Jews or anybody in the olden days, ancient days, that had furnaces. And the sun and the air were darkened. We're still in verse 2. By reason of the smoke of the pits. So it covered up. So it made it dark when you look in you couldn't see the sun, couldn't in the air, it was darkened by that, black. And there came out of the smoke locusts. Yeah, locusts. As you can imagine, locusts. Everybody know about locusts and the damage that locusts can do, and the damage locusts have done in the Old Testament and in this world, upon this earth. Too, history could tell you about locusts. And upon the earth, we're still in verse 3. And locusts upon the earth, I'll read that all the way. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. There you go. And unto them was given power. So it gave them privilege, authority, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Wow. So they're getting ready to do what the scorpions had power to do. Let's read on. Verse 4. It was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass. So they already were commanded not to do that. The grass of the earth, that's what it means in verse 4. Neither any green thing, don't you eat those. That's what they known to do, eat all the greenery. The agriculture people have had some damage upon the face of this earth because of locusts. Neither any tree, but only. Now these is single out. When you say only is single out, alone. That's what it is, only. Those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. Humans. And to them it was given that they should not kill them. That's in verse 5. But they should be tormented. The locust is going to torment it like a scorpion tormented. 5 months. And their torment was the torment of a scorpion. When it says striketh. When it strikes a man. Let me tell you, when a scorpion, one of those big ones, they're about the locust is only about the locust that we know, only paper clip size, large paper clip size. So they're going to strike like a scorpion. And when a scorpion strikes, you are in pain. Within 2 to 3 hours, you're in excruciating pain. You're drooling, you might be twitching, you might do all of those things when a scorpion. Now, according to most studies and what I've studied as a health provider, that licensed health provider, you may not need any medical treatment. And if you know anything about locusts, the history of them, the facts about them, they only last up to 7 months. But let's keep reading about these locusts. Oh my God, all I can tell you. And in those days shall men seek death. So it's going to be so bad, it's going to be so painful. They're going to they seeking death and should not find it, and they're not going to find it. And shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them, escape them. Interesting, isn't it? Guarantee. This is when it says shall, most of the time it's guaranteed. It is shall. They're going to seek for it. It's guaranteed this is what's going to happen. It hasn't happened like now because everybody's not worshiping and all of that. This is something that's going to happen. And you'll know if you're on this earth and alive. And perhaps you may not know. You may not know. Some of the people may not know anything about the Bible by the time all this stuff come about. Mhm. Verse 9. No, verse 7, chapter 9. In the shapes of the locusts, now they got a different shape, these locusts, were like unto horses prepared unto battle. You ever seen a horse? When they prepare, they put on certain things on their faces, certain things on their chest to prevent them from easy kill. Because if you can shoot, you can bow and arrow a horse or whatever, you can get the person on top. You can cause problems for the fighter or the warrior. Moving along, still in verse 7, chapter 9, the book of Revelations. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold. Wow. And their faces were as the faces of men. So these locusts look like people, humans. And they had, in verse 8, and they had hair as the hair of women. Not the hair of a goat, but the hair of women. And their teeth were as the teeth of lions. You ever seen the lion's teeth? They got those big canines and they got long. Oh my God. It's made to eat, to rip up flesh. And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron. So that's how John saw it. In the sound of the wings were as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. Now, we heard that before. You probably heard it in movies. And all you hear is boom, 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 boom. They're running. Boom. You hear even if you don't hear it, if you ever been in battle or been or heard of things running, they have a vibration as well. Moving along. Verse 10, chapter 9. And they had tails like unto scorpions. You ever seen a scorpion's tail? It curls up in the air and it's got a little sting on it, like that. We in verse 10 still. And their power was to hurt men 5 months, not to kill them, but do them wrong for 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue had his name Apollyon. So it means destruction. It means destroyer. That's what it means. In the translation, it means destroyer, destroyer, destruction. You can go from the Greek or the Hebrew. It's still going to mean the same thing. One woe is past. That was one. He had sound off 3 woes. Wow. Remember? Yeah. One woe is past. And behold, there comes, this in verse 12. I'll read it again. Chapter 9. One woe is past. And behold. Now that behold means to, really take a look at it. See. And there come 2 woes more hereafter. So after that. Following. And verse 13. And the 6th angel sounded. And I heard, John said, I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God. In this verse 14, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Fasten up, bind. Said, loose them, untie them. And the 4 angels were loose, untied, which were prepared for an hour, in a day, in a month, in a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. That's the third part of men in any calculation for me is 33% of them, or 1/3. And don't want to go into that because we got 8 billion people on this earth today in this year. 8 billion according to statistics. People living. And 1/3 of that. Verse 16, chapter 9, the book of Revelation. In the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. That's how I said it. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision. And so now John is seeing the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire in jacinth and brimstone, in the head of the horses, whereas the head of a lion. My Lord, what a terrible sight to see a horse looking like a lion, looking like lions. Creepy. And out of their mouths issue fire and smoke and brimstone. Wow. These are not the normal ones, that's for sure. That's not even the wow ones. Verse 18 on chapter 9, the book of Revelation. By these 3 was the third part of men killed. 33% and 1/3 were killed. By how? By fire and by smoke. Smoke can suffocate you too much, in your body, and in your lungs, and by brimstone, which issue out of their mouth. Wow. This stuff hasn't happened yet in our area yet, but maybe perhaps when you see the video, it'll be already happened for some people. Verse 19, chapter 9 of the book of Revelation. For their power is in their mouth, in their tails. So they got power in the mouth and in the tails. See that parallel? For their tails were like unto serpents. We already know how snakes and everybody else look. And had heads, and with them they do harm you, do wrong. And the rest of the men, which were not killed by these plagues. So there are plagues. Plagues are what? Strokes. Plagues are blows that have been inflicted on persons, people. 1/3 of the people were inflicted with this, blows. Yet repented not of the works of their hand. Even though they knew what happened to these other people were killed, they still didn't repent. They knew that what happened to those that were struck by the locust like a scorpion, and they still didn't repent. Let's move on. We're still in verse 20. That's verse 20, chapter 9. Yet repented not of the works of their hands. Check out the work of these hands these people had. That they should not worship like they do the Lord, bow down and kiss towards them, the devils and the idols of gold. So they love some gold. And silver and brass and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. Verse 21 of chapter 9, the last verse in chapter 9. neither repent, they didn't change their mind, of their murder, nor of their sorcery, nor of their fornication, nor of their theft. So sorcery is a drug thing. They include drugs in that when you're doing sorcery. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for chapter 10. It's getting better and better. Love you.